Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us again, Congressman Crist. So you've served as a state senator, education commissioner, attorney general, and governor who has been embraced by Florida politics. How will this past experience help you serve as governor this time and provide you inspiration in continuing to represent the Sunshine State?
Well, I think experience is helpful, no question about it. And having served as your governor previously, and as your governor at the time, we had a budget that was about $70 billion compared to the $110 billion that DeSantis has. Yeah, we paid our school teachers more because it was a value that I respected, something that I think is incredibly important, especially for your viewers, getting their education, higher education, an opportunity to have a bright future is incredibly important. And I get it. I'm a public school kid. I graduated from St. Pete High, also graduated from one of our great universities, Florida State. And I understand the power of education. And I think having been commissioner of education, the last elected one in Florida history, was an important part of that experience and learning opportunity that I had. But also serving as your governor. Again, I'll go to education because my dad served on the Pinellas County School Board. I had three sisters. Two of my three sisters were public school teachers in Pinellas County, where I grew up. And I just put a high value on it, but also on the environment. I'm convinced that the environment and the economy in Florida are inextricably linked. If we don't protect our beautiful Florida and have a great environment, then it's going to hurt one of our main industries, tourism. That will hurt people that work in restaurants or hotels throughout the state of Florida, and that would be devastating. Our current governor, DeSantis, has really taken his eye off the ball of the environment, off the ball of public education, off the ball of voting rights, making it harder for my 90-year-old father, my 87-year-old mother to cast their ballot. They love to vote by mail. Now he's made it more difficult. I like to vote by mail. And I'm a Democrat running to protect democracy. DeSantis is an autocrat running to be a dictator. He wants to have preemption laws, tell local school boards what they can and cannot do, regarding kids wearing masks in school, for example. The list goes on and on. But I'm honored to be running for governor. I'm in a primary. The primary is August the 23rd. I just received my mail-in ballot yesterday. I asked for your vote, whether you early vote or vote by mail or vote on primary election day, August 23rd. It's a very important election, and God willing, that'll go well and hopefully go on to November 8th directly against DeSantis and bring about change for our beautiful Florida.
Thanks for sharing about your experiences. And now more generally, why are you running for governor?
I'm running for governor because I love Florida, Andy. And most people do that live here. I mean, it's a special place, let's face it. And I love my fellow Floridians. And we're being abused, really, by the current governor. As I mentioned, voting rights, civil rights, education rights, the environmental protection we deserve and Florida needs, minority rights. He literally redlined out two Black congressional districts, one held by Al Lawson, the other by Val Demings, who, thank God, is running for the U.S. Senate, will be our next United States Senator. I'm running for Florida because Florida deserves better than this. We deserve better than what we're getting. And the bar is pretty low, frankly. So I'm running for Florida governor to bring the sunshine back to Florida again.
Now I want to switch the conversation a little bit to your opponents. Firstly, Nikki Fried. How are you more qualified than Nikki Fried to be the Democratic nominee for Florida governor?
Experience. I mean, it really comes down to that. I mean, you listed it in the introduction at the outset. I've served in the Florida legislature as a state senator for 6 years. I've served as the last elected commissioner of education for the Sunshine State. I served as the attorney general, fighting for civil rights and human rights as the attorney general. I've actually been governor of Florida once. And I'm now a member of Congress working at the federal level. Those combined experiences, I think, make me uniquely qualified to serve the people of Florida and continue serving you. I've got the energy, I've got the excitement, I've got the enthusiasm. We're 21 points ahead in the primary, according to the latest polls. We've outraised our primary opponent 3-1. I'm transversing Florida each and every day. Just today, I was in Orlando, Tampa, now St. Petersburg. The day before that, all over the state, having been in South Florida, and look forward to continuing to crisscross the state for this primary victory, which I think is incredibly important. And I also know that we need to be united when it's over. I had told my primary opponent that I would endorse her on primary election night should she win. Unfortunately, she didn't return that grace, but that's okay. I know this. We have to be united to defeat Governor Ron DeSantis. To me, he's a nightmare. He's torn our state apart. We need to unify our beautiful Florida and stay on the track that leads to a brighter future for all of you.
Yeah, so that actually leads into my follow-up question, which is about Ron DeSantis. So when it comes to the general election, how do you plan to beat Ron DeSantis, who is a potential 2024 presidential hopeful and a widely popular candidate among Republicans?
Well, the short answer is get more votes than he does. That's obvious. It's math, right? But how do you get to that? How do you get to that success and that victory? I think the way to get to it is to tell the truth. Tell the truth to the people of Florida, those that you want to serve, those that you want to work for, and tell them about what Governor DeSantis has done working against them, working for example, property insurance companies. Our property insurance rates are through the roof. I just held a press conference in downtown Tampa talking about this and the fact that we need to have a plan to get us out of this. Governor DeSantis called a special session on property insurance about 3 weeks ago. It was special, all right, for the property insurance companies, not for the consumers of Florida. Didn't lower rates 1%. In fact, made it harder for consumers to fight for their own rights against property insurance companies. That's not the right focus. Those aren't the right values. What's the contrast with Charlie Crist? In my first administration, the first special session I called was on property insurance rates. They were going through the roof like they are right now when I came into office. We lowered their rates by 10% in a week special session. Governor DeSantis can't do it, won't do it because he's beholden to the insurance companies, just like he is to the utility companies. When I was the Attorney General, I fought utility companies. I fought Florida Power and Light, Duke Energy. These companies that were essentially holding monopolies in their hand and would charge whatever they wanted because the Public Service Commission that is supposed to regulate them wasn't regulating under DeSantis. They haven't been. They've been lapdogs more than watchdogs. When I'm governor, I'll appoint members to the Public Service Commission who actually know they're supposed to serve the public, ergo their name. These are the differences between me and Governor DeSantis. He's more concerned about the White House than your house. I'm more concerned about your child's education, what you have to pay in property insurance, making sure that your utility expenses aren't any higher than they need to be, and we do what we need to do to keep our communities safe and protect our precious environment.
Thank you for that response. Now we're going to segue into bipartisanship. So you have been a Republican, an independent, and a Democrat, and you also wrote about this briefly in your book, The Party's Over. What has this taught you about working with people you may disagree with for the greater good?
Well, the best example I can probably give you is having worked with President Obama when I was still a Republican governor. We had a crisis on our hands called the Great Recession. The economy was in the tank. The White House called my office in Tallahassee as governor, inviting me to be with President Obama in Fort Myers, Florida the next week. Staff came into my office and they said, the White House has invited you to be with the president in Fort Myers next week. Do you want to go? And I said, of course, that sounds great. My then staff looked at me and said, are you sure? And I said, yeah, why do you ask? They said, well, he's a Democrat. Questions about bipartisanship? I said, he's the president of the United States of America, and I am going to go there, and I am going to fight for my fellow Floridians and try to get us out of this economic crisis we're in. I don't care if he's a Democrat, and I happen to be a Republican. We're supposed to serve the people we both work for. So I went to Fort Myers. He asked me to introduce him at this rally for the Recovery Act, or the stimulus as it was known. That afternoon, actually, it passed. But during the course of the introduction I gave him, I finished by saying, please give a warm Florida welcome for President Barack Obama. He came up to the lectern, shook my hand, and embraced me. And I embraced him back. And that was the hug that did it for Charlie Crist. And my then fellow Republicans, not all, but a lot of them, were pretty displeased that I was there with a Democratic president. But what I came to find out shortly thereafter, after listening to several folks, was it wasn't so much that he was the Democratic president. He was the first Black president. And that really broke my heart. And so that's part of the reason, part of the straw that broke the camel's back that got me to join the Florida Democratic Party. And I've never been more comfortable politically than to be a proud Florida Democrat. I'll work across the aisle now as a Democrat, with Republicans. I'll do whatever it needs to be done, whatever does need to be done in order to help the people of Florida, improve our education, improve our environment, protect our springs and our rivers, and make sure that we as Floridians have an economy that will flourish and a governor that will understand that the people are being crushed right now by property insurance, by the price of gas, by the price of food. And we have a governor that has done nothing on any of those issues because he's pursuing the White House in 2024 instead of focusing on Florida in 2022.
Now we have some questions about specific issues. So let's say that the election is over and you're the winner. What is your first 100-day plan?
First 100-day plan, actually, it's a first day plan. I'm going to assign a list of executive orders. Number one, protecting a woman's right to choose. What the Supreme Court of the United States has done is unconscionable. To take away a 50-year legal precedent that protects the privacy and the importance of a woman's right to choose and make decisions about her body and her health is outrageous. That's the first executive order that I will sign, is to protect a woman's right to choose in Florida. The other things I'm very concerned about are our voting rights, which we touched on earlier. Got to make sure that our voting rights are protected. We have a governor in Ron DeSantis who's trying to make it harder for you to vote, to cast your ballot, taking away the ease of voting by mail and making it more difficult, removing drop boxes from minority communities throughout the state of Florida. That's outrageous. That's discriminatory. So voting rights are incredibly important because all these other issues that we care about really flow from our right to vote in free and open and fair elections. I also think it's very important that we pay our teachers more. And I would fight during the first legislative session that we do just that. Right now we're the third largest state in America. We pay our teachers 48th or 49th out of the 50 states. That's embarrassing. We have to do better than that in order to have a better education opportunity for the young people of our state. Those are just a few of the very first things that I'll be working on, but it'll be a very robust, aggressive, hard-charging first 100 days in the second Crist administration.
Yeah, so you actually you touched on it a bit, which is the issue of abortion. And Florida is currently a battleground for abortion right now, with the Jewish synagogue suing the state's 15-week ban. Florida's also been shown to be the most pro-choice state in the South. So what role do you think abortion is going to play in this election? And what do you plan to do for abortion rights as governor?
I think the role it's going to play will be hugely significant, and it should be. I was raised with 3 sisters. I'm an only son. Respecting women came naturally to me just through my upbringing. And I think that's what this issue boils down to. Some of these white elected officials in Tallahassee don't care and don't respect a woman's right to make her own decision. That's obvious. That's what's going on. And so that has to be stopped, first and foremost, full stop. And I think that being focused on that's incredibly important. I also think that what we need to do is look at what are the options available to us if the current Supreme Court stays on its path in Washington and the right to privacy isn't protected. As I said earlier, on day one of the second Crist administration, I'll sign an executive order protecting a woman's right to choose. Number 2, I will work with the legislature, even though it's probably going to be dominated by Republicans, and still try to reach out to some moderate Republicans, Democrats, and independents in the Florida House and the Florida Senate to repeal the 15-week law that Governor DeSantis signed restricting a woman's right to make her own decision about her body. But then I'll also fight to make sure that we put a new constitutional amendment embedded in the Florida Constitution, gather the signatures necessary to put it on the ballot, and make sure the people of Florida can express their view on this important issue. But don't mistake this at all. What the Supreme Court of the United States did was put this issue of pro-choice, Roe v. Wade, smack dab on governor's races throughout the United States of America. That's why I asked for your vote. That's why I asked for you to make sure your friends are registered to vote. Get out and vote like your life depends on it, because it does.
So we spoke briefly about education. This question relates to that also as well. So this year, Governor DeSantis signed the Parental Rights in Education Bill into law, also dubbed by the media Don't Say Gay. In consideration of the state legislature likely maintaining its Republican stronghold come November, what is your plan of action beyond repealing the law, and how do you think Florida students will be impacted?
Well, I would fight to repeal the law. I wouldn't give up on that. I never give up. And I think it's incredibly important that we have an all hands on deck approach to this and other laws that we need to repeal and get rid of, including, well, the one we just talked about, the 15-week abortion bill that Governor DeSantis signed. So I think it's imperative that we try to get these things repealed. And as I also stated earlier, I am convinced that there are moderate Republicans in the state house and the state Senate that have been suppressed under this governor too. They're intimidated by him. He's a bully. He even bullied kids that were standing behind him at a press conference just because they were wearing a mask to protect their health. That's the last thing you want as a governor, someone who has that much power and authority over our lives. You need somebody who's compassionate, who's decent, who's respectful of others. And that's how I was raised here in St. Petersburg, Florida, where I grew up. That's the kind of governor I was. That's the kind of governor I'll be again. That's why I need your support to get these good things done and to bring, as I say, the sunshine back to the Sunshine State, because under Governor DeSantis, it's been pretty dark.
Thank you. So now we're going to segue to gun control. So with the trial of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooter in the spotlight and gun violence across the country on full display, what do you believe the state of Florida must do to protect our people? And how far do you believe would be too far in restricting firearm access?
3 things I think we need to do straight away, not just Florida, but the country. Number 1, ban assault weapons. The fact that we haven't banned assault weapons is insane. I mean, I can't imagine that people would vote against that, that are in elective office. But a lot of them are persuaded and swayed by the NRA, and that's unfortunate. But we need to ban assault weapons, absolutely. We need to have background checks that actually do check backgrounds significantly and thoroughly, so that we don't have, people that get through the system that aren't emotionally stable or stable enough that they ought to be able to have a firearm. And number 3, pass red flag laws across the country. Florida has one, and I'm grateful for that. But we need them across America, and I'm the sponsor of it in the United States Congress. The reason we need to do that is, imagine somebody goes to Savannah, Georgia, and they end up purchasing a gun under a lesser law or a weaker law, if you will. And then they come down to Jacksonville or somewhere else in North Florida, and they use that gun to commit a horrible crime. That's why having the uniformity across state lines is so significantly important. So to reiterate, it's ban assault weapons, have background checks that don't have loopholes, and make sure we have red flag laws so that we can scan like radar and make sure that people who are trying to buy a gun that shouldn't don't get the opportunity.
Thank you for that. So what are your views on recreational marijuana, and would you work to expand that industry if elected governor?
If I get elected governor, we're going to have recreational marijuana in the Sunshine State. I think it's incredibly important for 3 reasons. Number 1, I had an older sister that I lost to brain cancer, and I watched in her dying days, her suffer, and it broke my heart. And the only thing she could take would be powerful painkillers, many of which are impacting terribly adversely people all across America, particularly in the Appalachian area of our country. So that's number 1, empathy, compassion. Number 2, we need to be able to regulate it. So if somebody has some, it's not laced with something that's going to destroy them. And number 3, to tax it. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. The tax revenue we could raise from recreational marijuana in the Sunshine State would be hugely significant. And what could we use those additional revenues for? Pay our hardworking public school teachers more. And number 2, give more to law enforcement. We're getting to the place where crime is rampant across America. We need to support law enforcement and make sure law enforcement gets the training that they need so we don't have George Floyd incidents happening in the Sunshine State. So yes, I do support recreational marijuana.
So now we just have 2 questions left. We've made it through the difficult part, and our first one is kind of a fun question. So we're wondering, if you could choose one book for everyone in Florida's government to read, what would it be?
How about Florida history? I think that would be great. I think it's important that we have that kind of opportunity for young people. And I don't mean just, history that kind of sugarcoats stuff. And I'm addressing CRT here a little bit. What I'm talking about is teach actual history, teach facts to our students in our Florida schools. Florida has a rich history, you know, with Ponce de Leon as the discoverer of our beautiful state, and the many diverse peoples that make up Florida today. We're the third largest state in America. Over 22 million people live here now. Florida's a juggernaut and a beautiful place. And I think reading her history would be valuable for every Florida student. Be grateful for where you are. We're in an amazing place, and we have a big race in a big place right now for the next governor of Florida. And I'm asking for your vote, because if I win, you'll have a governor who will be thinking about you every morning when I wake up. I care about you. I care about the future of our state. I care about your education and your opportunities as Floridians. I would encourage you, if you're 18, to go ahead and get registered to vote. This is, like I said, a big race in a big place. And we got to get this right. Democracy is under attack. We had Nazis demonstrate in Florida yesterday, and our current governor, DeSantis, wouldn't even denounce it. We deserve better. You deserve better. I'm running for governor because I love Florida, as I said earlier. And we're so blessed to live in this most beautiful state in the country. So for Florida students, if you want a governor who's got a heart, you want a governor who cares about you, please vote for Charlie Crist. I'll never let you down. God bless you all.